Welcome to the Armani Talk Show, episode 30. I'm your host, Armani Talks. Within the Armani Talk Show, I am discussing a wide range of communication skills, principles ranging from public speaking, storytelling, emotional intelligence, creativity, and much more. This show will help engineers, entrepreneurs better express themselves, whether it's in the marketplace or in the workplace. So, to level up your communication skills once a month, be sure to tune into this show, which gets released in the beginning of every month. Be sure to hit subscribe, hit that bell notification, and never miss another episode again. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about a wide range of topics from leaving events early to the benefits of having a talkative friend. And are you a little too introverted? If you're ready and excited for today's talk, drop that like for me right on below. The first thing that I want to get started off with is leaving events early. Is it the smart thing to do, or is it not the best thing to do? I recently had this event called the Velima, and this event was so much fun. A lot of people came, roughly 400 people came, and I had a great time. This is one of those events that the groom side throws after the wedding, and it's just a one-day event. Different people come through to enjoy themselves, and a lot of people came, a lot of people got lit. But I did notice a handful of people left early. And I could always tell when people leave early once the dance floor gets lit. Because there's going to be some people that I'm looking out for in the dance floor. And if I don't see them there, then they left early. Now, I know this trick because I used to be that guy. I used to be that guy that did not like dancing in the dance floor at all. So whenever I said hi to the different people, that's when I would leave, right before the dance floor. So that's a trick for you if you're hosting. Whenever you are wondering if people left, look out for them in the dance floor. Well, there were a couple of people that I didn't see there, and I knew that they left early. Was I offended? Not at all. I could empathize with them because I used to be like them, and I get it. A lot of people, they don't like dancing, and I also get it. For some of these people, they can't party like they once used to. So I was perfectly fine with it. But a couple of days goes on by, and I see a Reddit post where there's this person that is very upset that so many people left their wedding early. For this situation, it was not just a handful of people, it was almost half the wedding. And that's when I had to reevaluate my philosophy about leaving events early. Is it smart to do or not? And I still think it's the smart thing to do, but you have to understand that context matters. The reason that context matters, especially in scenarios like this, is because it depends on the amount of people that are at the event and how close you are with the person's event that you are leaving. If there are roughly 400 to 500 people there, then it's difficult for anyone to notice when you left. The only reason that noticed when some people left was because these people looked unique. One of the guys, he was roughly 6'5" and bald. If I didn't see a 6'5" bald guy at the dance floor, then I knew for a fact he left. But he looked unique. For the most part, if there's roughly 400 to 500 people at an event, then others won't notice. But they will notice if you are super cool with them. So let's say there are 400 to 500 people and you are the brother to the groom. If you leave, a lot of people will notice. So in scenarios like this, you don't want to fall back to this excuse of I'm an introvert. This is a bad excuse to make, and this is something that I want to talk about a little bit more later on in today's talk. Whenever you're saying you're an introvert and you're leaning on that, you start to make excuses way more easily. It's very similar to an extrovert who's always saying, well, I can't meditate because I'm extroverted. I always need to be around people. You don't want personality types to be a modern day prison. If this is your brother's wedding, stay that hour longer. Stay that 2 hours longer. Is it socially unintelligent to leave an event early in that scenario? Absolutely. I'm not against leaving weddings early. I'm not against leaving events early in general. But there are certain times you just need to suck it up and you need to stay an hour and a half longer. Now, with that being said, you also want to understand the type of guest that is coming to your event. And I'm going to give you some tips, especially if you're hosting an event, on who to look out for. The most unreliable group of people that you will ever invite to an event are parents with kids. These people are so flaky. They will RSVP, but on the day of the event, their kid will cough. As soon as the kid coughs, the parents will say, "Oh no, we have to stay back on this one." And it's weird because every now and then, whenever there is a newborn, one parent will RSVP for the event and the other parent will stay back. And when the kid coughs, you will assume that the parent that's staying back will look over this kid. But suddenly, the parent that also RSVP'd is like, well, I can't leave this sick kid behind. So that's when they cancel their RSVP to stay back with the kid. And you can't say anything. What are you going to say? This is their kid. The mere fact that they even have to explain to you that they can't come to your event, despite them RSVPing, makes them view you as the nuisance. They're thinking, well, why do I even have to explain myself to this guy for? My poor baby is sick. People with kids are so freaking unreliable. And the thing is, they don't view it as flaking at all. From their end, they just view it as being a responsible parent. When you're hosting an event, people that you will love are couples without kids. Not single people without kids, but couples without kids. Single people are pretty much just as unreliable as parents with kids because parents with kids, you're always at the mercy of the kid. But with single people, you're always at the mercy of their emotions. They may RSVP, but out of the blue moon on a Saturday, they're just like, I'm not really feeling this event. I don't want to go to this event. And they don't have anyone to hold them accountable. If they tell you, hey, I'm not feeling sick, and you're hosting the event, what are you going to say? No, you're not feeling sick. Come through anyways. No, you're just going to take their word for it. With single people, there's no one holding them accountable. But couples without kids, these people are so freaking reliable because when you're a couple, number one, you're doing a lot of the similar tasks with your partner and you want something fresh. You're looking forward to events that single people or parents with kids, they don't want to even be a part of. Weddings. Single people hate weddings for the most part. Most people hate weddings for the most part, beside couples without kids. These couples, they are doing so many activities together that they're looking for a reason to go out. They're looking for a reason to take pictures, dress up, mingle with others. So they're looking forward to your wedding. In addition to that, they don't have any kids that will distract them on the day of the event. And in addition to that, let's say the guy is saying, I'm not really feeling this event. His wife will hold him accountable, or vice versa. Some of the best people to invite to an event are couples without kids. Super reliable. Now, when you start hosting events, it's also going to make you look at different personality types differently. I don't know why. Ever since I turned 30 to 33, within these past 3 years, I've been losing patience with quiet people more. And it's weird because when I was roughly 5 years old, I was super talkative. When I moved to the United States, I became really quiet. And I became quiet for years and years at a time. And one thing that I would notice was that whenever I was quiet at an event, multiple people would come to me in an aggressive way and they would ask me, hey, why are you so quiet for? They didn't like that I was so quiet. And I thought I wasn't bothering anyone. I thought, well, who cares if I'm quiet? I mean, you guys can keep on talking. It's not like I'm bothering anyone. But nowadays, at this age, I understand that I was bothering people because it's very hard to enjoy yourself when there's this one person not saying anything. Let's say there's seven people that are chit chatting, and there's that one person who just like, it's uncomfortable. It's like the elephant in the room. Why aren't you saying anything? Don't you have a single thing to say? And these people, they sometimes want to get offended. They'll, after the event, they'll say stuff like, oh man, I can't believe this person said something like this. This was very uncalled for. And my philosophy is if you don't say anything, you lose the right to get offended because other people, They are sharing their thoughts, their feelings, themselves. And every now and then, they put themselves in a way where they may say something that makes others offended. But you, the quiet guy, you're not saying anything. You're not allowed to get offended. If you get offended so much, how about next time in the event, you say some stuff and you put yourself out there? And once you put yourself out there, how would you feel if someone gets offended by what you said when that was not your intention? I am getting really irritated by quiet people as of late because I feel as though they're not trying. Imagine that we're all going to watch a movie. We all paid for the tickets. And there's that one guy that did not pay for the ticket, but still gets to enjoy that movie. Wouldn't you feel annoyed? I know I would. I would think, why did we have to pay a ticket while this guy did not have to pay a ticket? And that's one of the reasons people get so aggressive towards quiet people. It makes others uncomfortable. I get it in work. Sometimes people get really irritated if you're not talking at work. And I get that there's a time and place to talk at work. If you're a quiet person at work, yet super productive, I do have respect for you. But I do want you to know you're going to make a lot of enemies. Many people are going to think that you're not a team player. They're going to think you're socially unintelligent. And they're going to complain about you to the boss a lot. So even though I agree with you, I am warning you that other people, they will get annoyed by your behavior. But in the social world, let's say there's a party going on and you're being overly quiet. And I'm not talking about one of those quiet moments where you are not having anything to say for one particular topic or two particular topics. I'm talking about an entire event where you're not saying anything. That is a problem. And that's not something that you just want to wave off with an excuse. A lot of quiet people, they do create a lot of excuses for themselves and for their people. If you ever go on Reddit, they'll say, I don't see why my quietness bothers other people. And then they frame the talkative person as this childish individual who's too worried about other people's lives. But in reality, the quiet person should be pointing all accountability on them. They should be asking the question, why is it that I am willingly going to a social event and not saying a single thing? Don't I think it makes people feel weird? It absolutely does. And nowadays, being a quiet person in my past versus being more talkative nowadays, I completely understand why people are so hostile towards quiet people. And if you are super quiet in social events, you just want to talk a little bit more. You don't have to say that much either. You don't have to be telling stories or cracking nonstop jokes. You just have to say a little bit more. Notice one thing: silences. Whenever there are silences in the group, that's when you want to pitch in with something. Because this is a skill set to have. If you are a super talkative person, you can't talk all the time. You could talk for a long time, but at a certain point, there becomes a lull in the conversation. And for the most part, that's fine. But if you want the party to be lit, then you don't want that many of these lulls. You want upbeat, upbeat, upbeat. That's why it's great when there's at least three talkative people at an event. Because once one talkative person is wrapping up their stream of thoughts, the other person can now jump in. And there's that continuous momentum that is being displayed. Now, let's say there's not three talkative people, there's one to two talkative people. They're talking for a while, and then suddenly there's this silence in the interaction. During that silence, if you're capable of generating one new topic, just ask a question. Man, is it just me, or were those puff pastries really good? Something like that. See, that's a question and a compliment at the same time towards the host. Other people can, boom, chime in. That is your skill set. Now, if it's quiet and you're not saying anything, other people aren't saying anything, and you guys just are quiet for too long, then the party doesn't feel as lit. Nowadays, whenever I host the event, I prefer inviting way more talkative people than quiet people. It's not as though I mind the presence of quiet people at the events. I just don't want there to be more quiet people than talkative people. Because no matter how great the event is, it's always going to feel a little boring when too many quiet people are there. I don't hate quiet people, but I do get annoyed with them more as I'm growing up. I feel as though they don't try. I feel as though they make a lot of excuses for their bad behavior, and more people need to call them out. The more people that call them out, the more that they will take this effort to work on their communication skills. This is also very similar to the girlfriend effect. In undergrad, I used to know this one guy who was really robotic. I mean, he would go to the gym, and he would do a lot of masculine stuff, like talk about sports, and that was about it. Gym and sports. And anytime he wanted to explore a topic outside of those two fields, he had no clue what to say. And he was robotic for a long time until he got a girlfriend. As soon as he got a girlfriend, his personality began to shift. Suddenly, he started to unlock different charisma that he didn't have before. And that's the unique thing with getting a girlfriend because they will call you out. If you are misbehaving or if you're being really robotic, she will call you out and the guy won't think anything of it. I remember there was a situation where this robotic guy was just being super robotic one day, and his girlfriend said, "Hey, can you please show some personality?" She said this in a way where multiple people started laughing, and the robotic guy, he became hyper aware of this moment. And at this point, he started to realize the mistake in his behaviors. I mean, he was so monotone. He had this blank expression in his face all the time, and he wasn't capable of talking about multiple topics. After that moment, once he became hyper aware, that's when he started to educate himself on different topics. And dare I say, he started to talk more about his feelings. I'm one of those guys that I don't really talk about my feelings that much, but I do understand that if you want to be charismatic, you need to be able to tap into that side of you. Here's one unique thing with charisma. When you're a really charismatic person, every now and then people are going to view you as metrosexual. I actually have a buddy like this who is super charismatic. Anytime I'm going to an event, anytime I'm throwing an event, I always want to invite this buddy over. Let's call him Sam. The reason that I like Sam is because he is highly charismatic. It doesn't matter if you just met him, he will talk to you in a way where it feels as though you guys are lifelong friends. Super charismatic. He knows how to build rapport. He has amazing tonality that makes you want to listen to whatever he's saying. The only problem, he's a little feminine. And whenever I introduce him to a new group of people, others are always asking me, "Yo, is he is he like that?" And I'll say, "No, man, he likes girls, but you got to understand, whenever you're really charismatic, there's a certain looseness to your personality that makes people at times think you're." And this is where I believe that you got to master masculine charisma. Masculine charisma, it's different than just being charismatic in that fruity sort of way. And the main difference I would say with masculine charisma is that you hold yourself back a little bit. It's difficult to explain. It's something that must be experienced. It's very similar to driving. With driving, you have an accelerator and a brake. You want to click the accelerator, but you don't want to smash that accelerator, knowing that you can always click that brake to slow down. And that's how your personality works with masculine charisma. You know how to click that accelerator without smashing it, and you still want to acknowledge that there is a brake. And once you acknowledge that, that's when you will have a certain looseness to your personality, but you still have that level of stone wall uh, personality as well, where there's this layer to you that people cannot penetrate. They can't fully read your mind. I believe that is true charisma, where there's that looseness and there's that level of mystery as well. When you have both, now you are going somewhere. And charisma is something that you have to consistently work on. There's going to always be different layers that will be unlocked that you weren't aware of before. For example, with me, I thought I figured out my lane of charisma. My lane of charisma is every now and then I'm going to make jokes. I'm going to tell some stories. I'm not going to talk too much. I'm going to talk where my presence is felt. And from there, I'm just cool in it. But ever since a lot of my friends started to have babies, I noticed that I organically unlocked a different side of my charisma. It's more of this giving nature, where anytime I'll see one of my friends' daughters, I'll say, "Oh man, what's up, buddy? How's it going? Hey, here's some candy. Hey, here's a gift for your birthday." And I'm not like this. I'm not a guy who gets people gifts. But here I am, organically unlocking this layer to me, where I'm doing this baby talk with this child. And in addition to that, I'm treating them as though I'm the cool uncle. This is a layer to me that got unlocked ever since I became an uncle to a lot of these little kids. Now, if you're trying to explain this concept to the college Armani, he's not going to get it. He's going to say, "No, why would you do something like that? You're going to treat these little kids the same way that you treat your friends." But when you are surrounded by these little kids, when you are when you're having your friends bring their newborn baby and introducing them to you, that's when you're starting to unlock these different parts of your personality simply because you're evolving as a person. And that's going to happen to you as well. I don't know at what age you are listening to this episode. You may be in college right now. You may just gotten into your first relationship. You may have just gotten your first kid, but you will always notice different elements of your personality being unlocked. And certain parts of your personality, it's not good. It may be you're getting impatient quicker. That's not good. But other times, it's a great thing. It's new. So at first, you don't really know how to deal with this new behavior. But as time is going on by, others are reinforcing that this is good behavior. I have this inside joke where I'll always talk about tough love. Whenever I talk about being a parent myself one day, I say, "I am going to be such a tough dad. You don't want to mess with me." But then the people that I'm saying this to, they will see me with a little kid and I'm being so generous to them. And then they'll say something like, "Man, Arman, we don't think you're going to be that tough. We think you're going to be a big softie with them." And that's a good thing, Arman. You have this soft nature to you whenever kids are involved, and that's something that a lot of people don't have. They're really stoic, but the mere fact that you are soft with these kids shows that you have some potential to be a good parent. Others are telling you how to perceive your behavior. And that's the unique thing with leveling up, evolving as a person. You're not always going to be that same person that you always were. I was watching this interview from Damon Wayans recently, and he had a brilliant way of breaking down how grandparents are different than parents. He said grandparents love their grandkids how they should have really loved their regular kids. So imagine this scenario. Let's say you have a dad who was a hardcore disciplinarian towards you. He never said he loved you. He never hugged you. He never got you any gifts. He was always super tough on you. By the time that you get a kid and your dad becomes a grandparent, you will see that your dad as a grandparent is completely different towards your kid than he was to you. With your kid, he's going to be hugging the kid. He's going to be saying, "I love you." He's going to be getting his grandson gifts. It's way different. And I wonder why that is. I believe the reason that is because by the time you're hitting your 50s, 60s, at that point, you don't have that much responsibilities. You may be retired at the stage, and it allows you to tap into a different side of your personality. A lot of grandparents have this reputation as being soft towards the grandkids. But if you were to ask the regular kids say, "Not at all, man. My parents were super tough on me." And it's just something that the personality organically evolves as time goes on by. You may be way different in your 30s than you were in your 20s. And ever since I had that Valima recently, that one event, I noticed how many people's personalities have shifted. I believe now, more than ever, introverts are wiping out extroverts. Extroverts are slowly becoming this rare species. And the people that consider themselves extroverts aren't really extroverts. The more that you talk to them, the more that you will eventually see that they're not that extroverted in nature. They do like social events, just like a lot of introverts do. But they also don't like those string of events where eventually they need a break as well. There are ambiverts, sure, but if we were to bucket people from introverts to extroverts, I would say there are way more introverts than extroverts nowadays. People just get tired quicker. And it's not only that, I feel as though a lot of people, their personalities are becoming shyer as well. I recall there was this one guy in undergrad that was super talkative when I was in undergrad. He was very charismatic. He had a good shape to him. So he had that confidence. He dressed well. Everything was the full package. But nowadays, I noticed that he is different, really quiet, and he's quiet in group settings mainly. Whenever he's having a one on one with you, he'll be full of words. But in group settings, he doesn't say that much, and his mere presence is somewhat weird. I mean, the way he looks, the way he articulates himself, it just having him in a group situation makes the whole dynamic feel weird. It feels as though everyone's getting fed up quicker. He's rolling his eyes. You could just tell he's uncomfortable, and that uncomfortable energy that he's facing, it's transferring to other people as well. And when I saw him hanging out with different groups of people, I noticed a social law. Introverted people will make extroverted people more introverted, not the opposite way. Let me say that again. Introverted people will make extroverted people more introverted, not the opposite way. So, an extroverted person is not going to turn an introverted person to being more extroverted. A talkative person will not often make a quiet person more talkative. An introverted person, they have this way of creating this safe space for the extroverted person to enter. And now the extroverted person is in the introverted person's space. They're having this deep, heartfelt talk about God knows what. The event is going on. Everyone is getting lit in the event. And this introverted person is happy that they have a person to have a deep conversation with. And the extroverted person is just having this conversation, not knowing that the entire event is going on by. And then the event is over. And I go to the extroverted person and I ask him, dude, where were you, man? I barely even noticed you. With this introverted guy, I barely ever notice him. But you were extroverted, man. You should be more talkative, especially in an event like this. And suddenly, this guy, event after event, the extroverted guy, it seems as though he's losing some confidence. Now he's kind of like that introverted guy in big groups. He doesn't know how to express himself. He's quiet for a little bit longer. And that's not that good, in my opinion. I think you should be introverted with your thinking, but you should be extroverted with your communicating. When you are in group situations, you need to be able to express yourself more. You need to be able to speak in groups. You can't be that guy that is always pulling people into individual one on one sessions and turning everything into a deep talk. So, this super introverted guy, he's a really good friend to me, by the way. Super loyal. He'll travel to different states whenever I have a big event, always throwing down money, always doing a lot of great stuff. Good. But the one thing that I have had a problem with this guy with is he knows how to suck the life out of parties. Whenever I invite him to a party, he always turns these group interactions into individual nodes. So multiple people are talking in groups, everyone is having a great time, and then he just pulls one guy away and is having this deep one-on-one conversation. And eventually, this deep one-on-one conversation, that mentality of having a deep one-on-one conversation starts to spread like a virus in this party, and multiple people go from being in this group interaction to just being in little islands whenever I invite this guy. So nowadays I don't invite this guy that often to parties because I know that he's going to suck the life out of it. See, sucking the life out of parties, it's not always about being negative. It could also be being too deep. You ever had that one guy that's always trying to turn things into an education lesson? These people are not socially intelligent. That's why I tell people in self improvement, you don't want to throw away your TV so fast. You don't want to diss pop culture so fast because there's this element into the human experience where we're not just caring about education the whole time. We also want to experience life for what it is. We also want to have joy. We also want to have fun. And dare I say, this may not be good. We also want to gossip. We want to gossip about other people that we know, what they're up to nowadays. We want to gossip about celebrities. We want to gossip about athletes. And this is the taboo part of the human experience. It's not always just about deep talks. Sometimes you just want to turn off your brain, especially in these social events, and just be mindless. I went to this party not too long ago, and I recall the host, she brought out this one game that required a lot of thinking. She'll say, no, if we encounter this scenario, then you have to activate this role. If we encounter this scenario, then these people have to get engaged. If we encounter that scenario, and she just explaining all of these rules. And I said, man, this is my off day. I'm not trying to act as though that I have to learn this entire homework assignment for me to have fun. I just want to have fun. Something light. You have a game like Taboo, something light. Whenever people are throwing social events, you want to make sure that you lead with fun rather than education. And a lot of the times we will lead with education, not because of a noble trait. It's mainly because we're nervous. If you are someone that is nervous, suddenly you'll become overly logical. There's not that humor that's being unleashed, and you're just being very stiff. Being very stiff and being overly educational go hand in hand. That's why if you're one of these introverted guys that keeps turning group events into a solo situation where you're having a deep conversation with one person, you honestly want to watch out for that. Because the host, more often than not, they're getting annoyed by you. And I get it. Okay. I honestly get it when you don't know that many people at the event and the group situation is making you somewhat nervous. I fully understand that type of philosophy. And that's why it's just important to use these social situations to consistently make yourself uncomfortable. Not too much, but every now and then have that one period where you immerse yourself into a group. You willingly do this. Multiple people are already talking. I would recommend roughly 3 to 4 people. They're already having a conversation, and you walk nearby them and you listen. And then when you notice that silence, you jump in. You may have no clue what to say, but just jump in. One of the places that I used to do that a lot at was work. I recall there was often cliques at work and they would talk a lot. And every now and then I would just walk up to these groups of people and just insert myself. And I was surprised. There were plenty of times that they were excited to bring me into the group. And if you want to increase your social intelligence, be the person that brings individuals into the group. Whenever you're seeing someone standing, looking lost, be that person that brings them into your group and integrate them into the group. Whenever I see people just walking aimlessly, I'll say stuff like, hey, hold on. Bro, come here. Didn't you say that you went to this school? This person also went to this school. And boom, you've integrated them. This is what socially intelligent people do. Instead of creating these individual islands, they keep creating these webs. And at the end of the event, you've made so many introductions that you lost count. And creating introductions, it could be so easy. For this event that I threw 2 weeks ago, there were different people that traveled from different areas to be near me. And I recall there was this one situation where I heard a girl was from Dallas. And later on, I recall that my cousin was from Houston. My cousin came from Houston to Florida to participate in this event. So she didn't really know that many people. All I heard was Houston in one ear, Dallas in the other ear. And I decided, whatever. Let me introduce these two. And I said, hey, this girl's from Houston, this girl's from Dallas. Now, here's the thing with Texas. It's not as though that Dallas and Houston are right by each other. So it seems as though I made a silly introduction, but not at all. The mere fact that they fell under the umbrella of Texas meant something. Now they were just chirping away, talking about Texas stuff. It's very similar to if I'm at a foreign event and I'm from Tampa, but someone else from the event is from Miami, and the host, the star of the show, introduces us and says, hey, Armand, this guy's from Miami. This guy from Miami, Armand's from Tampa. We fall under the umbrella of Florida. So you don't have to overthink it. People that overthink it will say, Well, technically, Houston and Dallas, they're really far away from each other. Why would you make an introduction like that? But humans, they really don't care. They just need a mild introduction and boom, they are running with this introduction. You want to get in a good habit of introducing people. Even in calls, every now and then in workspace, what's going to happen is you're on a call, you invite your coworker to the call, you know a bunch of the other people on the call, but no one knows the coworker. So what are you going to do? Just have the coworker sit there in silence? No, you're going to say the coworker's name. You're going to say what they do, and most importantly, you are going to integrate them into the conversation. And the more people that you learn to integrate into the conversation, the more that you build your social confidence. So nowadays, when you do go to events, you have that confidence to go up to people more rather than just being in this isolation by yourself the entire time. You will go up to people more. And the opposite is always so true. If you're kind of like that introverted friend I was telling you about earlier, who always turns these group interactions into one-on-one interactions, then subconsciously you're going to view groups as the enemy. Anytime you go to events and there are multiple people hanging out, a part of you is immediately going to get nervous by them. It's normal to get nervous by them, but the likelihood of you getting nervous by them lowers if you get in the habit of introducing people and you willingly create groups. But if you willingly turn groups into one on one situations, then you will forever view groups as the enemy. And you don't want to do that because a lot, and I mean a lot, of conversations are happening in groups. This is one thing that you need to expect for no matter which age you are in. I've seen little kids hanging out in groups. I've seen teenagers hanging out in groups. I've seen 50-year-old men hanging out in groups. So you are always going to be surrounded by groups. You could run, but you absolutely cannot hide. Get in the habit of talking in groups more. And you do that by getting better at doing introductions. You will notice a lot of differences in personalities. There's going to be a lot of good that gets unlocked over time. There's going to be a lot of bad that gets unlocked over time. And I do think a lot of it stems from how you think you look. I was watching this wedding video that I was in 2019 for my brother's wedding. And I kid you not, I looked really handsome in my opinion. I was 27 years old. And without a doubt, that was, in my opinion, my peak. Now, what's unique is that a couple of years earlier, when I was 23, I could have sworn I was in my peak then. And when I was actually 27 years old, I would constantly revisit that stage in my mind when I was 23. And I would say, Armand, you don't have it like you once do. But now that I'm 33 and I'm looking at my 27-year-old self, without a doubt, I think my 27-year-old self was my ideal. And at this stage, I don't know if I'm 40 and I'm going to be looking back at this stage and saying I look like my peak. But right now, if I'm being fully honest, I don't think I'm living up to my potential with looks. I think what happened was I bulked up a little too much. I've been going to the gym. I've been doing the whole Mike Menser workout where you're lifting super heavy, not for long. You're just trying to activate that stimulus and then you leave the gym. I've been doing these hard, intense workouts. I've ballooned up to 210 pounds. While back then, when I was 27 years old, I was roughly 182 pounds, at 6 foot tall. I truly do believe that a big part of stumbling into your great looks is going through the stage that I'm going through right now, where I willingly put myself in the stage. If I get up and you see my biceps and everything, I'm stronger than ever. I'm bulkier than ever. But do I look better than ever? The answer, in my opinion, is no. I think there's a lot of stuff that I could work on that my 27-year-old self just had by default because I was the right weight. I believe if you are the right weight, a lot of other stuff simply gets handled. Where if you're the wrong weight, you could do a lot of the other stuff, like put on the face masks, put on the right cologne, get the designer shirts, but you just won't look right. So just looking at it, evaluating everything, I believe that I am better off in the 180 to 190 range than the 200 range. Now, with that being said, at least I'm articulating this out loud. It feels really uncomfortable when I'm articulating this out loud because I am pretty much saying I look better back then than now. But there's this level of ambition that I have where I think as a man, I could always keep looking better. I think if I put my head into the game for roughly 6 to 8 months, I could look better than I did when I was age 27. I'll get the right hairstyle. I'll trim my face a little bit. I'll wear the nice clothes. I am certain that I could look better now than at age 27. Now, you need to have this level of confidence whenever you're critiquing the way you look, because if you don't have this level of confidence, then you'll hurt your confidence the more that you are explaining what could be improved. And I think that's what's been happening to a lot of my friends that are becoming shyer nowadays, especially in public. What's happening with a lot of them is that they're not confident with the way that they look. And they've told me this. They'll say, Arman, I'm heavier than ever nowadays. And when they say something like that, I'll just say, yes, man, but you can lose weight. See, I don't want to speak on women right now, but with men, we're actually lucky, especially as we age, because there's a lot of the things that we can do that others can't do. We can fix our hairstyle. If we have some wrinkles in our skin, it's not the end of the world. Heck, it makes us look more charming to certain groups of people. So it's not the end of the world, especially if we are not doing certain things right. Now, with that being said, you need to have that confidence. You need to first critique yourself on what could be improved versus what can't. And I think in order to truly do that, you need to have content. If I didn't have so many pictures from myself in Facebook from back in the days, or if I didn't have the wedding video from 2019, then the way that I exist in my mind, it would be completely distorted of back then. And the way that I looked at 27, it'll just be this blob. It wouldn't be who I truly was. But nowadays, when I could look at myself and I can objectively say, no bias or anything, Arman, you looked better back then than you do now. I believe that is a freeing feeling. And this is one of those days where if you have a tell it like it is friend, or who knows, a tell it like it is family member, it helps you out tremendously. Where you know that this person means well, you know that this person means no harm at all, and you know that they will tell you exactly what you need to hear. It's tough, but they will. And a lot of the times, that'll be your brother, that'll be your sister, it'll be your mom, dad, in laws. A lot of in laws, they love you, but they don't have that soft spot for you yet. They will tell you what you need to hear. And the more that that happens, the tougher that you can become. And you are tough because now you know what you can improve versus what will stay the same. You may be way more well spoken now, or you may be not as well spoken as you once used to be. Maybe you look better than ever, but you just don't look that good. In this scenario, it's very important to critique yourself. And obviously, everything that I'm saying it's in an ideal world. It's not something that I think that everyone is going to always be able to do, especially for me. It took me a long time to admit I looked better back then than I do now. But once you admit that, once you acknowledge what you can do better, once you see that all the stuff are still within the realm of possibility, that is when you will improve. The way that you look will have a huge impact on your confidence. So other people don't really have to like the way that you look, but you have to like it. If you are a short person and you're always worried about you being short, that's going to be an issue. I've seen a lot of short people that pulled way more girls than tall people. It's because the tall people, they lacked confidence, while the short people, they made peace with the fact that they were short. Once they acknowledged, look, I am short, there's nothing that I can do about it, but there are stuff that I can do something about. I can work on my personality. I can work on my humor. I can work on my social skills. When they started to focus more on what they could control, that's when the height or lack thereof didn't matter that much. And it's the same thing with us, especially as we are adding on years. As we're adding on years, a lot of people, they will let themselves go. Heck, you may have let yourself go by accident. Sort of like what's happening with me, where I became really muscular, but when I look at pictures, I don't think I look as good as I once did because I'm too muscular. This may happen to you, where all your boys are giving you props. Yo, bro, you are so big right now. Yo, bro, you're so strong. But then you have a girl who enters your world and says, ew, you're too big. As soon as you hear that, initially it's going to sting the ego, but as time goes on by, it will make you feel better. So continue to feel better from that. In today's episode, we've been talking a lot about different personality types, and I truly do believe that the more that you understand different personality types, the more that it will help you out in the long run. There are going to be plenty of times that you are being invited to different events, and initially, you may look for excuses not to go. Right now, at the time of recording this event, it's the 4th of July. There's a lot of different events happening, and there's a lot of people that are hanging out with each other that I'm familiar with. But today, there's this new couple that hit myself and my wife up, and they're going to have a brand new group of people. Now, rather than going to what we're used to, we decided to say yes to this new group. We're going to meet a lot of new people. We're going to go to a brand new side of Tampa that we haven't been to yet. And we're looking forward to it. We're looking forward to it because the main way that you improve your social skills is by putting yourself in unfamiliar situations. And if you are putting yourself in unfamiliar situations, then it's going to force yourself to exercise different parts of your conversation skills, different parts of your humor, different parts of your listening skills. And it's going to elevate you as a person. One thing that I used to always tell people is that you don't build charisma dealing with people that you're comfortable with. You build charisma dealing with rude people, annoying people, people that test your patience. There are a lot of people that are desi, and they will live with their mom and dad for a long time. And I'll get DMs on Twitter. The DMs will say, "Hey, Arman, my parents annoy me. They're so freaking annoying. They're all up in my grill. What do I do?" And I'll ask them if there is any possibility to move out. And when they say no, then I'll say, well, learn to deal with it. Use this as an opportunity to practice your patience a little bit more. Use this as an opportunity to create conversation material with someone you vehemently disagree with. Use this as a situation to let things go. A lot of times, parents will say something that pisses you off, but then you need to learn to completely let it go so you could enter the next conversation topic with them. Practice all these micro skills, my friend, because charisma is built in uncomfortable times, not comfortable times. And the uncomfortable times don't always have to be hostile. It could be like tonight, where these people, I'm sure they're super nice, but it's uncomfortable with for myself and my wife because this is us entering a brand new territory. We don't know them, but we're still trying to hang out with them. And the more that you keep putting yourself in weird situations, the more that it's going to have a spillover effect in the rest of your life. Now, at work, you're going to be okay sending that bold email. With your business, you will talk a little bit longer with your vendor. See, a lot of guys, what happens with them is that they don't see things through. When they're uncomfortable, as soon as they feel that uncomfortable emotion, they leave. They'll end the conversation quickly and leave. Where with what I'm trying to tell you, that charisma is born in uncomfortable moments. What you want to do is you want to coexist with that silence in that hostile environment with your vendor for a little bit longer. And when you do that, what will happen is that you are understanding how to coexist with difficult emotions. You will see that you do not always have to flee whenever uncomfortable emotions are being felt by your body. You could just coexist. And the more that you see that, the more that you will have these conversations with your vendor. You guys are going through some turmoil together, but then the conversation goes back into friendly territory. Once it goes back into friendly territory, you'll see that you are overthinking all of this all along. You'll see, oh, wait a minute. That's just how conversations are. People go through the ups and the downs together. And the more that you can deal with stuff like this, the better off that you are. And in the beginning of today's talk, I was talking about how quiet people annoy me. The reason that quiet people annoy me, especially nowadays, is because the quiet people, they never engage in this dance of a conversation where you will go through ups together, you will go through downs together, but you just keep moving forward regardless. Quiet people, they just don't put themselves in the race. They want to see other people putting themselves in the race, but they don't put themselves in the race. And that is why it is always going to piss people off. So if you're really quiet and you're watching this episode, you don't want to be too complacent. You don't want to create excuses for yourself. You don't want to say, well, those talkative people, what good do they know? You want to ask yourself, how can I step into this conversation topic? It could be something light. It could start off with you laughing. It could be you making an observation. It could be you making a joke. But the more that you keep exercising this muscle, the better off that it will be. And whenever you see a really quiet person trying to enter this conversation material, one thing you as a socially intelligent person, what you don't want to do is isolate them. You want to avoid hyper niche topics where, let's be real, some people, they don't want to talk about investing their money, Bitcoin, or these specific stocks in a broad group setting. When other people are trying to join into the conversation, quickly change topics. And if you see that you are in a group and you and one other person are talking about the same thing for a long time and everyone else is just standing there, have the social awareness to realize that you guys are talking about a niche topic. When you're talking about really niche topics, it showcases how socially unintelligent you are, in my opinion. You want to have broad topics. And this is why I always say, when you go into self improvement, do not throw away your TV. A lot of self-improvement people, they do that and then they become super one-dimensional. They'll go to these social situations and all they could talk about is the latest book that they read. They have zero idea about anything happening in pop culture. When you act like that, then you are willingly cutting off a lot of social interactions from your world. In my book, The Charisma King, which you can get on ArmaniTalks.com, click shop, I talk about the different types of personalities that you are going to deal with. There's going to be a lot of great personalities. There's that motherly person who doesn't say that much, but you will see they are always doing work. Whenever they are in a social situation, they are helping with the cooking, they're helping with the cleaning, they are just helping. But if you try to pull them aside for a one on one conversation, they won't have that much things to say. It's because they coexist with helping others. And a lot of the times, if you try to pull a motherly person into a one on one conversation and you are a guy, you will see that they are highly uncomfortable because they think that it's a little inappropriate for them to be having a one on one conversation with a man. Other times, these people, they don't want to help out at all. They just want to go there and to converse. That's me. If I'm going to your party, do not expect me to help you clean up. Do not expect me to help you move stuff. I mean, if you want me to help you move stuff, give me clear direction. Say, Arman, move this from here to here. Don't just have a bunch of people break out into cleaning stuff and not give me any guidance. Because chances are I'm just going to be standing there with a plate full of food eating while everyone does work. There are personality types like mine. They need complete guidance on what type of work to do. And even then, they're not going to want to do work because their day to day life, it's so busy. When they're coming to these social events, they just want to chill. They just want to turn their brain off, not move boxes around. That's another personality type. And other personality types are the ones that will turn group interactions into one-on-one dynamics where they don't like group situations. They like to have deep, heartfelt talks. They don't like hearing jokes too much. They want to talk about their lives, their ups, downs, their transformation. And in my book, The Charisma King, which you can get on ArmaniTalks.com, click shop, it's that big red book. I talk about how to deal with all different types of personalities. When you are charismatic, you need to be that type of person that has different personalities that you can willingly unlock. So, yes, you may be that guy that doesn't want to help out in social events, but certain events, you see that people need help. And rather than just standing there aimlessly looking looking off into the space, you can in this situation help. Other times, you will see that plenty of the women in this party, they're all socializing by helping one another, by cooking, by cleaning. And now it's up to you to socialize with the men and have fresh new conversation topics that you can generate out of the whim. So, you as the charismatic person, don't ever say stuff like, well, this is just who I am, or I'm just an extroverted guy, I'm just an introverted guy. You need to be like water. You need to always be dynamic, depending on the situation and what is being asked of you. And for these highly charismatic people, you will think that they always want to be around people, but that is not the case. If you are married to someone like this who knows how to turn it on and off with different groups of people, this type of individual, this type of charismatic person is a charismatic person with intention. They're using cognitive efforts. So when they're putting in all this cognitive effort after the event, they don't want another event. They just want to chill. See, the partners of these charismatic people often make the big mistake of thinking, well, this person just gets along with everyone. So how about I always have our weekends filled with activities? But this charismatic person is not like that. They know how to turn it on, but they don't always want to turn it on. It's sort of like a professional chef. Just because this person knows how to cook amazing meals does not mean they always want to make amazing meals. After they make this meal, they want to get paid for it. Then they want to go home and Uber Eat something. They want to get the money that they just got from cooking the meal and spend it on their own leisurely activities. So that's one thing that you want to understand with super charismatic people. They're not always trying to entertain you. They are creatures of intent. And the the most demoralizing thing for creatures of intent is to constantly just be putting them in situations where they always have to be on because now they're thinking, man, I have to use so much intent and I'm just getting tired of it. I just want to chill. Let people chill and then you'll honestly get the best side of them. One topic that I'm going to be talking a lot more about are breaks. It doesn't matter how extroverted you are nowadays, us as creatures, we're getting so much stimulus that we want a break. The intervals of the break will truly depend. It could be once a week, it could be once a year, but creatures need that break. If you're seeing that your partner is being a little moody, they're getting impatient quicker, chances are you just got to give them a little bit of a break. If they have to bring it up and you're making it a big fuss, oh no, why do you need a break? Isn't me? Then they will get annoyed and they will take out that annoying energy on you. What you want to do is you want to notice situations like this. This person has been socializing a lot. And let's think about work real quick. They have to work a lot as well. They're probably surrounded by people at work all the time. Now on Fridays, Saturdays, they also have to do other work, aka social activities. How about I give them the Sunday off where they don't have to ask me for Sunday off? I willingly give it to them. When you willingly have plans yourself and now your partner can have that break, they could just watch TV, they could just chill, no plans needed. They will love you for it. And plenty of times, they may bring you into their break because you're the one that willingly suggested it. They will say on their day off, hey, join me as I just hop around YouTube together. Okay? You want to let people have that space. And when you give them that space, they will love you for it. That's my personality. But the thing is, a lot of people who want breaks, they cannot articulate themselves. So when they ask for it, they come off a little hostile. Well, they say something like, will you please just leave me alone? It doesn't matter how pure hearted your desire for that alone time is. If you deliver it like that, then the recipient will always be offended. That's why you want to be able to deliver it in a smooth way. But you, as a recipient, you want to practice the art of reading people's minds a little bit more. I will say it's almost impossible to read people's minds, but it's easier to read people's body language. When a super social person is being quiet out of the blue moon, being moody, these are body language tricks that you will notice that will help you realize that this person needs a break. So if you want more insights like this on how to deal with different personality types, be sure to check out the book Charisma King. You can grab a copy on ArmaniTalks.com, click shop. You will learn much more about listening better, speaking better, and forming more meaningful connections. Go on ArmaniTalks.com, click shop, and grab your copy today.